And we're live. Good morning, guys. I think we all have working audio this morning, so Big Pod is getting situated, guys. I think we all have working audio
Can you hear
this
me?
morning, so let's mute the stream.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So was that Ansem? Yeah, we can hear you. Big Pod, you got audio?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good. All right, we're 4 for 4. All right.
Nice.
Yeah. So, good morning, guys. I hadn't been up that long. Got up, drank a couple of cups of coffee, and I'd been needing to do another one of these patron chats for a little bit.
Good morning, Derek.
Good morning, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Sorry that he
extra early so I could be on the stream.
extra early.
Yeah, I was up at like 9:30 this morning.
That's not early, Ben.
Well, I kind of slept in because I was out late with my parents rocking at a bar. So yeah.
Wow. You went to the club with your parents. That is a bold move.
Yeah. I tried to resub to your Patreon, but unfortunately, I didn't have money in my debit card this morning, so I have to get some off my dad when he gets back from church.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
It took me a minute to find your email. Sorry that.
Yeah, that's fine. But anyway, I on this Dell laptop, I'm running Awesome Window Manager on Arch, and the only thing that's missing is the Bumblebee applet, but I'll worry about that later. But yeah, the last thing I added to my custom config was the Blue Man applet, but everything else is running fine. It does detect both GPUs under Arch. It's just the fact that I haven't got my Bumblebee indicator up there, but it's fine. Everything works. I'm not going to moan about it. So
well,
yeah.
this is the problem, Ben. You're always going to find something that doesn't work, and that's where the hopping comes into play. You start hopping to the next distro, and you fix that one problem, but you have
something like that because I'm happy with Arch. It's just that one little thing that's nagging at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried to quit hopping here recently. I've slowed way down from distro hopping like I was 6 months ago or so. I'm quite happy with what I've got, so I'm just gonna leave it alone.
That's like me and my Arch. I'm happy with Awesome. I'm not gonna screw with it.
And I can be happy with anything. It's just, when you install something and it's kind of working, even if you find a few nagging bugs, fix those bugs.
My Raspberry Pi.
I've got the same one. Is that one of the CanaKit Pis?
I believe it is, yes. Yeah. I got this for like $70 off of Amazon, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Yep, I've got the same one.
The problem is it's not powering on because I plug it in. Well, it's got the red power light going to it, but it's I plug it in HDMI cable, put in the SD card, nothing comes up. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what the heck's going on with this.
And you've got the power cord plugged in.
Yeah, and the HDMI cable, nothing's coming up.
I don't know. I would check the power cord.
Buy another one because I bought this a couple of years ago. So yeah. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, my friend Jack is going to go on TeamViewer with me later and see if we can fix it. But if not, I'll just get another one and just use the same SD card. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
it might be because I don't have the SD card plugged in. I don't know. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll just have to suck it up and get another one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would just check the power connection first, just to make sure it's got power.
Yeah, I've tried it in multiple outlets. It's just not doing a damn thing. It might just be time to replace it. I have no idea.
How old's the Pi?
I think it is the Katana one, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure that I bought it like 1 to 2 years ago, so it's way out of warranty now.
Yeah.
So I'll just have to probably get another one. So. Yeah. But I'm talking to you guys. I'm on Firefox now, by the way.
And nothing wrong with Firefox. You'd been using Chrome?
I I have both installed on both my computers, but mostly I'm using Firefox now. I was using Chrome for my daily stuff, but I've recently, today and during Sudo's stream, I switched to Firefox.
Mm-hmm.
I imported all my Chrome bookmarks and everything, and I said, okay, I'm going to try and just use Firefox for a while.
I thought about trying to use the suckless web browser, Surf, but I have no idea if it could even do Zoom, so I didn't even bother with that. I was running a few minutes late. I was like, you know what, Firefox just works. So
yeah, as long as it works, I just want my stuff to work.
Yeah, I'll play with Surf some other time. I didn't want to do it for a live stream.
I know. Yeah, we were just trying to get in the stream. So yeah, if it's like that, then I'm not gonna mess with it.
Yeah. And I've been using DWM, the DWM window manager for I don't know.
I saw that.
I've been using it about 3 weeks. And I logged into Qtile for the first time in the last 3 weeks this morning to do this stream. You know why? Because I heard that one of us was going to show up today using Qtile, and I wanted to have my Qtile here just in case I needed to look up anything.
I didn't want to go through the painstaking process of setting up Linux on this computer just because I was already booted into my Windows 10 partition, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to go through a click install of Arch just to be on here. Not going to bother. So yeah, I just logged into Windows 10 and just left it alone. I was already logged in. I was on a game. I didn't want to reboot into my other hard drive just to, or I should say my other SSD just to, go through something like that just to be on the stream on something sensible.
Yeah. Well, Big Pod, what window manager are you running today?
Currently, I'm on OpenBox, but
you're back on OpenBox.
For most of the time this week, I was on Qtile.
Yeah.
I went back to OpenBox. Had something to do that I'm most comfortable doing on OpenBox. It just is a bit easier, but otherwise, yeah, Qtile is quite okay. It just, I don't know, it ain't for me.
And it's a different kind of experience, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like
I can use it, and I can use it very well. I just default to the mouse, and that isn't keyboard so much isn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And since most applications that I use are actually GUI driven, it's a lot easier to do with something like OpenBox or some other floating window manager.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat is asking, could I add some text for your names here in Zoom? No, I can't do that because depending on how many people are coming and going, the faces are going to appear differently on the screen. So I can't really do that. At the top, who is not on camera, Ansem, and then you see the robot logo, that's Silent Robot. And then at the bottom, we have Big Pod. And then, of course, Mr. Ben Fitzpatrick. We call him Fitzmagic.
Fitzmagic. What's that about?
All right. So
that's that good.
Yeah. I'm going to check out your latest Hackman distro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to get rid of the purple theme because, the icon set that matches it.
Mm-hmm.
It made the menu like all bloggy and big, so I got rid of that because I didn't like how the menu formed like that. And I left all the other stuff alone the way it was, but the theme was just not coping with the system, so I changed it to a little bit different theme. So yeah,
I'm gonna try to get. I'll probably take a look at your distro probably in the next couple of days because I've got a little time, and I was actually meaning to take a look at it anyway. I also have an Ubuntu respin a guy did that uses OpenBox, Big Pod. I wanted to take a look at, so might do those two together, maybe on a stream or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there for that. Sure.
Yeah.
I've got school on, college on Wednesday and Monday, but that only goes from 8:25 in the morning is when I leave, and then I get home around 1:15 or something like that Eastern time. So, you know, I do have my phone with me, but I can't have it out during class.
Right. Well, if I end up doing it on a live stream, I'll email you, and it'd probably be in the evening anyway. That's typically when I like to do those.
Because I know you work and that sort of thing.
Right.
Danson's in the house.
Hey.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Chris. Yeah.
Good morning,
Hey,
Chris.
Silent.
Dan, Silent, everybody.
Yeah.
Chris is driving again.
Yeah. He's driving while he's on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna turn off the video and mute and until I get to the museum.
Yeah.
Brave man. YOLO.
You only live once. Huh?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he got pulled over right now? How do you explain that to the cop?
Yeah. I downloaded a Silence distro, but I haven't had a chance to try it yet. I've just been messing around with stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I've just
And
updated the ISOs today as it goes.
Yeah. That I saw Backyard's video on that. I was blown away. I was like, wow.
Data Pioneer did a better one.
Yeah. That looks yeah, because he's not a huge Arch fan. I'm more of an Arch fan than him, but I did it the stock Arch way with my laptop. But I might chuck your version of it on there and just see how it goes.
Yeah, by all means, have a play.
Yeah, I'm not gonna wipe my stock Arch because going through all that work just to wipe it wouldn't make sense if you get my drift.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, let me see. I'm gonna download the newest one. Okay.
Now we have two different big pods joining us now.
Oh, there we go.
My network crashed.
Okay.
Had to reset my wireless access point in my laptop.
Nice, reliable hardware there, Big Pod.
Yeah.
No, it's been a long time since I resetted it, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
sometimes stuff happen. I believe it's actually related to electricity or something like that. I don't know. Instability of electricity. It's kind of stormy outside, so
Mm.
Bit of a spike.
this
Yeah,
stuff
could-
happens sometimes.
Yeah, it's raining and snowing here.
I tell you what, it was actually kind of cold where I'm at. It was seriously like 80 degrees just a few days here. It was hot. I had to turn on the air in the house. And today it's like 40 degrees outside. It's strange. I don't get this weather. Yeah.
That's kind of unusual for where you live, Derek.
Yeah, it's pretty cold. It doesn't get below freezing that often. You know, usually maybe once 1 week out of the year it'll dip below freezing. By below freezing, I mean just barely below 32. We rarely get anything really cold like in the teens or anything. That's like once every 10 years, you know, you get that kind of weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is it normally 80?
I'm reading through Facebook and just some of these posts. I'm just like, what are these people smoking?
Yeah, on
Yeah, is it
Facebook.
normally 80 this time of year, though?
No, that's unusually warm.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's strange too. Yeah.
So you
So-
went two extremes.
I mean, it can be, you know, in the 60s. I mean, it's comfortable, but yeah, Ben,
Right.
Where you want short sleeves on, that's unusual for February. It should be a lot colder than that.
No, these aren't short sleeves. These are, I'm wearing a fog hat shirt, which is short sleeve, but I have a long sleeve shirt on top of it.
Yeah.
Must be nice. I had to deal with minus 35-degree weather this week.
Dear geez. It is, let me see. It's 31 over here.
Yeah.
My word.
I'm glad it's not that bad. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to leave the house. It would probably cause me to do a lot more distro hopping because I wouldn't have anything else to do. I'd sit at the computer.
Oh, God, that would get boring after a while. Yeah.
And I see.
That's
it
like
ma-
me these days. All I have time to do is distro hop. It sucks.
And it looks like MX just did their release announcement. So those of you that
Yeah, I
are
believe
MX fans,
yesterday
yeah,
it was released. The Dolphins said it yesterday they started pushing out the new version.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
I've got the previous version, but I don't believe I have to update. I believe it would just if I do the
upgrade,
it'll just roll into it. Yeah.
At least that's what yesterday Dolphin said.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah. MX is fantastic. So, and Antix is great too. But Antix is a different kind of distro. It's more for people like Big Pod. People that like minimal. They like lightweight, blazing fast. Fluxbox and JWM.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like Ben that likes a full desktop environment like XFCE. He'd prefer MX.
Yep.
My mom's still on Linux.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you put her on, Ben?
Although the only thing is, my mom's on Mint 19 XFCE, and she's loving it. She's had no complaints so far.
That's probably a good choice for a new user.
Yeah, that's definitely a good choice for Mom. Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty new to Linux. She's kind of getting used to the way it works, but I haven't had her install any apps or anything like that because she doesn't need to. All she does is email, check Facebook, and that's really it. She does occasional Rosetta Stone to learn French, but she hasn't done that in so long. So I'm just having her, use it as is. I'm not going to tell her, go install this, this, and this because she'd get all flustered. So I'm not having her do that. I'll be the one to take care of that because I'm the one supporting it. So
yeah.
I don't want to throw her in a fish in a barrel like that.
Now, is she one of these kind of new computer users that doesn't even realize they're using a different operating system than Windows? Because I've installed Linux on some people's computers. They just think it's a different version of Windows. They just think you hacked Windows in some weird way.
All she thinks is an operating system's an operating system, and she doesn't care.
That's a good thing, though, so they don't get too curious, start poking around.
Right. Yeah. She just thinks one OS is another. She doesn't care what the backbone is.
As long as they can open up Chrome and go to the face page, that's all they need.
Right.
As long as she can go on her Facebook and her email, she doesn't care.
I put my 13-year-old son on Peppermint.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. How's he liking it?
He likes it a lot. Yep. He does well with it.
Yeah.
He's actually got Steam on it and stuff, so
I'm not going to tell a family member on Arch.
Yeah. Well, that's cool that he's 13 already on Peppermint. They grow up fast, though. By 17, don't be surprised when he shows up with Gentoo.
Yeah, right.
It won't be long before he starts compiling Gentoo all the time.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always more power to him if he wants to do that.
You got to watch those teenagers. As soon as he starts compiling his own kernel, he's practically grown. And you just,
That's like me when I was 16. I started playing with Linux. It wasn't long before I started screwing around with Gentoo. And then it slowly migrated to LFS. I was like, oh my god. That was my next one.
But your LFS journey was not...
Yeah. My LFS journey hasn't ended yet.
Yeah, it never does.
Yeah, I don't think it can ever.
Yeah, I'm working on a multi-lib one now, which is a bit more work than it should be, but I'm enjoying it. Yeah,
I'm sitting here surfing r/Linux on Reddit, and it still amazes me people complaining about Wayland. So, Wayland is... it's been in development for over 10 years now. Yeah. I don't know why people are talking about it. Just be happy with X11. Just forget Wayland even exists at this point. I mean, maybe in another 10 years it'll be usable, but right now there's no point in even having a debate about Wayland.
Yeah. Problem is GNOME guys are pushing it way too much.
Yeah, well, if you use GNOME, or especially if you use Fedora and GNOME, you kind of are stuck with Wayland.
In one way, it's a huge kudos to X11 in itself, because if it's taken 10 years to even come close to feature parity, it shows how well X11 has done over the time,
Yeah. Well, also, this is not like a normal kind of software project. I mean, writing a graphical server. I mean, this is really low level stuff, right? I mean, this is not something a couple of guys are going to get together and in a month, you're going to have a new display server. So
yeah, and they're compositors in their own right as well.
Wayland's been in development for so long. It's just these new display managers take a long time to get set up.
Because problem is that the X11 was as you go made, basically. If what is needed is thrown in there. Wayland has to do everything right now from scratch, and even at the same time catch up to the new technologies that are implemented into X11 as you go. So it is kind of problematic, and then you have to everything like do what's it called?
Exactly.
Optimizations. Basically, it is quite hard for something like graphics server to be at the level of something that's a long time in making, and it's supported so much as X11.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying to support everything that X11 does, but you're also trying to remove all the legacy code that doesn't need to be there anymore.
Yeah.
You got to remove all the bloat, but then you got to also have all the features. Kind of like the suckless guys.
Kind of like
I don't think people realize how non-trivial the coding is for that type of thing.
No, yeah, it's incredibly
Yeah,
it is. I mean,
especially if you want to make it in a language that isn't Python.
yeah.
But wasn't Wayland developed?
Assembler.
Wasn't Wayland developed by one guy for the longest time until Red Hat started helping out?
In the early couple of it was. But Red Hat picked it up pretty fast. Yeah. Red Hat jumped on board.
Derek, I meant to tell you there's a third-party GitHub developer team who's bringing back Unity 8. I don't know if you knew about that.
I did not, but I will definitely check that out. I like Unity.
Yeah, it's still in development, but they do allow you to git clone their code, and they are using GitHub to develop their stuff, and it's pretty cool because they're forking it, and they've made some pretty significant progress. So,
all right.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a look at for you when you get the time.
Yeah. If you want to post it in the chat, I'm sure there'll be probably several people in the chat would probably want to check that out.
That would be.
It's by the developer UB Ports.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, these guys are developing.
Yeah, they're doing the
Unity 8, so it can be used on their Ubuntu mobile.
Yeah, and it also works on Ubuntu 16.04 and 18.04.
Yeah. It does, but it's actually way different, as far as I know, way different than what.
Yeah, it is. They actually have a picture of the desktop on
Unity 7 from 16.04.
It's a lot different.
Yeah, they're completely different operating systems, really. So
completely different.
7 is still in development in a small amount by one guy.
Yes.
Yep.
And
if you want to check out Unity
slowly,
like Unity 7, you can still get that.
It still works. It's still in the repos.
There's a nice spin of it. It's Umix by Tony George.
Yeah, that's what I'm on right. That's what I'm using right now.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
It is really nice.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
And the problem with Unity 7 is that thing is basically just it's Compiz, the Compiz compositor, and I don't know if the main dev of that, didn't he leave the project years ago? I think Canonical hired him, and then he quit working for them. So I don't even know if anybody's maintaining Compiz anymore.
Right.
Well, there is Compiz Reloaded, which I don't know if even that is being maintained.
Right.
As far as I know, as was maybe we talk a couple of weeks ago on Big Daddy Linux Live about Unity 7. That problem is that if you wanna run and fix Unity 7 or get it up and running, they will have to really also update Compiz in a big way, because basically it's one and the same thing, and nobody wants to undertake that challenge.
Yeah.
While the Unity was separate from Compiz, they said that probably someone would, but since you have to keep both Compies and Unity, it's kind of a big challenge, so nobody wants to undertake it.
Well, after a while, the main dev of Compiz, he didn't want to maintain it, so...
Yeah, it's a lot of work to maintain a window manager like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't even do it.
And usually, you know, if a project it becomes so complicated and so much work that the guy that started it walks away from it, you're not going to just get anybody off the street to jump in and try to fill those. Yeah, the project's pretty much dead at that point.
It'd take you too long to get up to speed on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to just mess with the code, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, because you're not going to understand everything this guy wrote, you know, over 10 years or whatever, you know, building Compiz.
Yeah. You might understand how he wrote.
Just working it and making it your own.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will take more time for you to understand the code and know how it works, really, so you can actually use that code. It is faster than to rewrite the code in your own style.
And some languages don't lend themselves to you write something and then somebody comes behind you and you can understand what they did. So depending on what language he wrote it in, you know, it may be very difficult to.
As far as I see, it's written in C, C++, and Python. And that could be quite undertaking, especially C and C++ part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
functional programming languages like Haskell, you know, you try to go back and take a look at somebody's Haskell code. Good luck, you know.
Been known C++ for probably 6 years. Yeah. And how I can fix my professor's code from who I learned C++.
Yeah.
In the chat, briefly, I wanted to answer a question here. We had somebody ask, can we recommend some Linux channels, some Linux YouTube channels? Yeah, go to the top of my channel page and go to, what is it, links, or let's see. Let me get to my channel page. Anyway, just take a look at everything I'm subscribed to. The only thing I'm subscribed to is like Linux and tech-related channels. I'm subscribed to like something like 80 or 90 channels. So I bet you'll find something that you enjoy somewhere in there. So.
Oh yeah.
Man, of course, it'll depend on what you're interested in. You know.
Oh, yeah.
They're not all the same. Everybody does their own thing.
Oh yeah. My channel is mostly about Linux, Mac, Windows. I am a variety kind of channel.
Right. And some channels, focus a little bit on Windows and Mac. You know, they don't strictly stick to Linux. Some of them even throw some BSD in there. Then you got.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't done any BSD videos yet, but I might do some. I don't know a hell of a lot about BSD, but I might look into playing around with that at some point.
Yeah, some channels are geared toward, the desktop users, some more server, system admin kind of work.
Oh, God. And I was just looking at this group on my Facebook. It says, Apple confirms it's using Google's cloud for iCloud. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what has Apple got its head in the sand or something?
That's spyception.
Yeah, it's like
first, Apple spies on you, and then on that point, Google then spies on you.
Right. So it's the better of two evils combining with the worst.
Just wait a couple of months so Microsoft Azure becomes really big, and then we'll have Google Cloud on Azure.
Yeah.
Basically, that will be really a spyception. Everyone who is big on spying will be spying on you.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, oh my God. Yep. Yeah. I mean,
at least they are not NSA servers.
Yeah. This is terrible.
One thing I'm curious about is this commute that Chris is doing. He's been in the car for a while. How far do you drive to work, Chris?
Well, he's
muted.
He's muted.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, okay. Well, this isn't actually a paying job. we don't have any paid staff at the museum. It's all volunteer, but it's for my paint job. It's about a 20-minute commute, and this is probably maybe about 15 minutes. So.
Okay.
Not too bad.
Yeah. Because we had started the stream. Yeah, we started the stream about 30 minutes ago. He was still in the car. I was just wondering how long the trip was. I was getting worried.
Yeah, I was like, what?
And Rocco,
I saw your review yesterday on the Red Core distro. I was like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Red Core is interesting. One thing that I didn't know about the release of Red Core, the one yesterday, and then the developer contacted me about it, is the Sisyphus package manager. It now allows you to compile from source, where it used to you could only, it was all binary builds in it. And if you wanted to compile something from source, you of course would emerge. But the problem was his release announcement didn't include that. It included a link to the alpha version release announcement, which told you about that, but of course I didn't click on that link and I didn't go that deep into it. But the graphical version that I showed on camera, the GUI version of the Sisyphus package manager, it won't build from source. It's only the binary builds.
So you still have to go in the terminal and do sudo emerge, whatever you want.
Right. So you would have to go to the terminal and either use Sisyphus or emerge to compile from source.
Do the source-based program.
Right. Exactly.
Like Chromium or Firefox or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Well, that sucks. To do sudo Sisyphus minus AV Chromium.
Well, it's got a different commands, but yeah, it's basically like a wrapper around emerge.
So it's like a noob friendly version of
the syntax is a lot easier. Yeah, so it's right. Install, uninstall, Sisyphus, all that.
Sudo Sisyphus install.
Right. And they have pretty good documentation on the package manager. They have a page that gives you all.
I have to look at the documentation because I'm so used to stock Gentoo.
Yeah, they give you the commands in Sisyphus, and they tell you what the command in emerge would have been. So they tell you exactly.
That's cool.
What's going on? Yeah,
it is pretty cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's not bad. I know Ben loves Gentoo, but it's an easy way to get into Gentoo. The Red Core install uses the Calamaris installer.
I've done, Spectre's always said that I've done Gentoo more times in a day than most people care to do.
Well, you use what works for you. I mean, if you're used to it, it's not difficult for you, Ben, because you've done it enough times,
Yeah, I've even gotten, you've seen it, I've even got GNOME 2 and KDE on there. Not with KDE, but yeah. I've even gotten Plasma working on there once or twice, even GNOME 3. So, yeah, I've done Gentoo to most lengths that most people don't even care to go to.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the people that run rolling releases like Arch and Gentoo, they typically stick to minimal window manager only desktops, and usually for purposes of they don't like things breaking. So if you install like the full Plasma desktop and the entire KDE suite of apps, chances are things are going to break on you along the way. That's why you see all those Arch i3 installs. It's because they don't break usually.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Next time I do Gentoo, if I do, I'm probably going to go Awesome or i3 or something like that, just for consistency's sake.
Yeah. Also on Gentoo, compiling from source, the full Plasma desktop, when you do an update, it can take forever, right?
Because, that's why I'm probably not going to go that route if I go any big GUI name. I'm probably going to go XFCE because it doesn't take that long to update that.
Yeah. And Rocco from Big Daddy's in the chat. He mentions he's running the full Plasma desktop on Arch, running great. So.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take that long to update that, but.
Well, that's not source based. Yeah, it's a little different on Arch.
That source based, yeah.
Right. Yeah, the only source based stuff you have on Arch is if you're doing anything from the AUR, that's compiling from source. Some of that stuff can take forever.
Yeah, some of that stuff is compiled. Yeah.
Yeah, I made the mistake one time of trying to. I think it was GCC. I got from the AUR, compiled it, and it took like 6 hours or something crazy. So,
oh my god!
Yeah, software can take a lot of time. Some software, if it's.
And I don't know why that's surprising to Ben. You've built GCC on LFS before, Ben. How long did it take? Yeah, exactly.
Maybe an hour.
No, no way. Well, maybe on your machine at once.
How many cores you have? That's the question.
He must have a beefy machine.
It took me like an hour and a half, maybe 2. Okay.
I built like 2.8. About an hour.
Well, I did set my make flags to J5, which is what my laptop runs. So it did compile a little bit faster than yours did.
Yeah. So you were using 6 cores?
Well, it's 4 cores, 8 threads.
Okay.
So I was using
yeah.
Yeah. Then that's how many cores my laptop has. So it wasn't taking that long. So. I don't know what you were using, but I wasn't using 1 core inside my laptop.
Yeah. Serge says, on his machine, 4 cores. It takes 50 minutes. Yeah, so about an hour.
1 core, then it's going to take forever to build.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 core. Yeah, it might take a day.
That's probably what you did.
Well, that's what it used to involve. These modern machines we're so used to now. Like the Gen 2 install is not that bad, right? A couple hours, you're done.
Yeah.
But 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't that common, 10, 12, 15 years ago for people to say they tried a Gen 2 install and it took them 3 days to install it. I mean, that wasn't unusual.
You know what a lot of people use? For such stuff, you know what people use? SUSE's open build service that is called build server.
Yeah, the OBS for
OBS.
The other OBS.
It can do for almost any distribution packages you can make from source code.
Exactly.
It's really good for this sort of stuff.
No, I have to admit I've never played with the build service that SUSE does. I should though.
Yeah.
I plan as well. One day.
It seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
For now, my build server works okay.
Well, one of these days, I'm sure you're going to get into all that Big Pod. You're going to have Big Pod OS up and running, and we're going to.
Yeah, I'm calling my LFS Infinity OS. Actually.
Yeah. I still get people asking me all the time, man, why don't you just create your own spin of Linux with OpenBox or Qtile or something and put it out there? I don't want to do that.
You don't want to have to support
because I'm going to get questions about it constantly. I'm going to let Big Pod do that.
People are going to be like, how do I do this? How do I do that? That would just be too much a burden on most people.
Yeah. Of course, Alistair, Present Arms, you guys know Alistair. He was nice enough to create a PC Linux OS spin with my OpenBox config, so it's my stuff, but I didn't do it, so he'd get all the questions about it and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. I still have that on one of my drives, too. I log into it every now and then.
Yeah.
To remind myself of how great OpenBox is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a Radeon XFX 460 card now to replace my NVIDIA because, I just got sick of all the craziness that NVIDIA involves in a lot of operating systems. I just said, okay, heck with this. I'm going to AMD and not looking back.
I would, in current times, no thanks for AMD on my side. I can deal with NVIDIA if it takes like a couple of hours, okay. But I hate AMD GPUs currently.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that it's directly in the kernel, so I'm like, okay, what the heck? I'm going to AMD.
Historically, AMD has been on Windows and on Linux really bad for me.
Well, I'm playing I'm on Windows 10 right now playing SWTOR, and I'm not having any problems because, it's what graphics settings is this running at?
No.
It's running on high settings right now on almost everything, and I'm not having any issues. And the render distance is on ultra, and I do have anti-aliasing off, but I could turn that on and it still wouldn't lag at all.
So you guys are not going to rush out and buy like some of the new Radeon 7 cards or
Forget
next gen?
Well,
No.
Well, I just got this card for like $79 on eBay with including shipping, and I just don't have the money to get a new graphics card again right now.
Yeah, my problem is cost effectiveness as far as, you know, dollar for dollar, you're just going to get more bang for your buck with the NVIDIA cards. That's just a fact. Assuming you're using the proprietary drivers, which you don't buy an NVIDIA card and not use the proprietary drivers.
Well, I'm using if I do install Linux on this tower with an AMD card or an NVIDIA card, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to use the proprietary AMD drivers, AMD GPU drivers, because those are directly in the kernel, and I can easily just pop those in and leave it alone. Because I don't know if those are the proprietary drivers for AMD, but if not, I'll just go to the AMD.com site and download them. Then again,
All
right. And I would obviously have to look up which ones they are, but it would be unless you know what they are, Derek. But I don't know.
I don't have a machine with AMD cards. I've stuck with NVIDIA forever.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look up AMD Linux.
We had a question in the chat: why do people avoid using Windows? And the answer to that from Mitchell was Windows is a dumpster fire. So there you go. So we don't have to discuss.
Yeah. Okay. So AMD provides drivers directly from their site for Red Hat and CentOS, and then SLES, which is
No, they're baked into the newer kernels though. So
it's actually built into the kernel, like I said. So
so you almost don't need it.
Yeah, you don't need to grab the driver.
No. So I imagine it's not the kind of thing where you have a
box, so that's not a big deal.
Yeah. So like on something like Ubuntu, you wouldn't have to go to the the install driver thing and install.
Yeah, you could just pick it up and it'll be there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I bought it, because in like most operating systems, it works just out of the box, except for Windows. But
and the 420 kernel and up.
Yeah, 4.20 and up. Yeah. So
that was another thing about Red Core that was interesting. You were talking about Red Core Linux is they were still using the 4.14 LTS kernel, which is a little strange for a rolling release, but I still run the 4.14 LTS kernel on Manjaro, so because it works, and
if I install any version of Linux on this tower, I am planning to go the 4.20 release, because because as I'm sure a lot of us know, the kernel 5.0 release is coming soon, and I'm planning to upgrade to that whenever it drops as well.
Yeah, isn't the 419 the new LTS?
Yeah, it is.
It is, but I don't know if they've backported the AMD drivers into that.
Probably they didn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't think they would, but yeah, I'm planning to just go 4.20
for you it makes sense to go
because I'm using an AMD graphics card. Yeah.
For me, I go for 419 for stability reasons mainly.
Yeah. And every time I do something in the terminal, you guys know I have NeoFetch that pops up, and it tells, the operating system and the kernel that I'm currently on, and they see 4.14, and I immediately get a comment on the video, hey man, why don't you update your kernel? It's like, why?
Well, yes, security-wise, updates are important, but stability is also important.
Well, 4.14 is the LTS kernel. It's being patched for security stuff.
Yeah, it's being patched for security updates.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. Toss just sent me a link to his Google Hangout for his Ubuntu show starting at 1:30. I'm like, isn't that a little early, Toss?
Wow, yeah, that's not his normal time. Well, I might check some of that out if I happen to be around. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you should drop in, Derek, if you happen to be around.
If I do, it'll probably be toward the end of it.
Yeah, that's fine. And someone in the chat said, Wendy Hill says she has an RX 580 in her tower. It's been fine. So,
yeah, a lot of people love those the RX 580 and 590 cards.
Those are quite okay.
Yeah, I've been, by the way, Derek, I've been compiling Gentoo on this Haswell Lenovo that has 2 cores, 2 threads on it, and it's running fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but a long time.
Yeah, I might put XFCE or i3 on that one. So.
Yeah. Of course, he says that this week, but you remember that one week he said he was never going back to Linux and he was going back to Windows.
Yeah, I had. Yeah, that was pure frustration. I'm not.
Then he said he was never going to use Gentoo again, too, right?
That was tough to watch. I mean, that was a broken man that showed up to that
I
chat.
was broken because I was burned out and frustrated.
Oh, that happens.
We've all been there, though. That's what makes it funny. We've all been there.
That frustration road plenty of times.
Yeah, you just tap out. I'm done.
Yeah, you just sort of get this false sense of mentality.
No.
It happens all the time,
For some people, a lot of people though, they just install something and they just leave it though. So.
Yeah, that's I'm still in that distro hopping phase.
Yeah. Not us. We're a different kind of crowd. We're
we Linux nutballs always have some kind of phase we go into where we just jump around a lot.
Sitting here checking out some Linux news.
I'm working on my LFS.
I see Open Mandriva had a beta release. You guys ever played with Mandriva previously, but now Open Mandriva? Obviously Mandriva's been dead for a while.
Yeah. Last time I used it was
played that.
Yeah, after the show I might throw Gentoo on this new graphics card.
You and Gentoo, sir.
Yes, it's my passion.
Yeah. Well, the way you talk about it, people would swear you were like the main dev, Ben.
I have thought about going on their dev team. They would love me.
You guys know Chicken, that from Rocco Show, Big Daddy Linux Live. For the longest time, I swear, I thought he was one of the project leads for Elementary OS. He talked about Elementary OS. Like when Destination Linux, they finally did an interview with the project lead for Elementary. What's his name? Is it Daniel?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's one of them.
I was like, that's not the guy. They got the wrong guy. The other guy's
Oh, it's funny.
All right. So what does everybody got planned today? I know it's an off day for most of us, not Chris.
Well, for me, it's going to be mostly Linux tinkering today. And going on Toss's live stream later. So.
No. Yeah,
and
I might do
some gaming and that sort of stuff.
And that's not a bad idea.
I might do some of that.
Trying to fix my Raspberry Pi. So.
No. And what were you going to do with the Pi, Ben?
Run Kodi on it.
Okay.
Because you missed it, Dan, but my Raspberry Pi is not booting. For some reason, I plug it in, it gets the red power light, doesn't do jack crap.
Oh, you don't even get the rainbow?
I don't get nothing. It just says no output device when I plug it into a TV.
Oh, that's not good.
Because I have the monitor that you guys are seeing me through is actually a TV that I just use as my monitor because it doesn't have a cable box hooked up to it because I rarely ever watch TV through the cable box. I just watch TV through my family's account, through their Spectrum website. So that's it. Because then I don't really need, because I have my dad's login information. He doesn't mind sharing it to me. So, because I don't give that out to anybody because I don't want them hacking my Spectrum stuff that my dad gave me. So, yeah, I just log in and watch TV through the browser. That's all I have to do.
Right. Usually, though, if your Pi doesn't boot, I mean, if it's a bad boot image or whatever, you'll get the rainbow thing up on the screen.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. It's
you don't get a cursor. You don't get anything, huh?
No. So, yeah, I'm probably thinking about just, getting another one because, it does have the, let me see, let me take the top off of this. Yeah, it's got the red power light on the board, so it is getting power from what I understand. It's just not booting up, so, yeah.
Weird.
So that is kind of weird because the board to the computer is getting power. It's just not coming on. So
yeah. I've got the same Pi, that CanaKit Pi that you've got there,
yeah,
and
exactly.
I've had no problems with it. I don't play with it that much. All I've done is I installed Raspbian on it, and then I put Nextcloud on it to play around with Nextcloud.
Right, exactly.
Very easy to set up Nextcloud.
Have you tried ejecting the SD card, Ben? In case that's
well,
correct.
the SD card is sitting right here, and this SD card right here. So, I mean, I haven't powered it on in a long time, but you know, that shouldn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, I got one of the Pi Zeros, and I put RetroPie on it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's no reason that it shouldn't power on if I haven't plugged it in a long time, you know?
No. Well, this is an excuse to just go ahead and upgrade to the latest generation of Pi.
Yeah.
So
when my dad gets home, I'll ask him, you know, can I buy this new Raspberry Pi? Because, you know, if it's not powering on, there's no reason not to buy the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's a power issue, then you're probably just gonna have to buy a new one.
Yeah, that's probably my plan, is just get another one, because I mean they are fairly cheap.
They are.
Yeah, if you just need the board,
supply too, maybe.
Yeah, could be. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, Ben. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, because he's already got the kit. You know, if all he needs is a new board. What's a Raspberry Pi run these days? $35 or something?
Yeah, they're like 35.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wouldn't even try to diagnose that problem. I'm like Big Pod, you know. I don't diagnose problems. I just reinstall.
Right. Yeah. You could try a different SD card or try a different power supply, but that's about it. That's probably where the troubleshooting would end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I tried a different power cord and it still didn't power up, then that's probably as far as I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
I saw they jumped on you a little bit, Big Pod, on the Big Daddy show last night about I don't fix problems, I just reinstall.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking the whole time? I'm exactly the same way. I don't fix problems. I got work to do. So
sometimes it's easier and quicker to do it that way.
Yeah. And
well,
most of the time, when problems happen, you have to work, or you're fixing someone's computer that has to work. So you can't look hours and hours looking to what is wrong and then reporting that. You just can't do this. You just can't do it this way. If I had 5 laptops, maybe.
Yeah. But it depends on what you're doing. Like if like this afternoon, you know, Ben was saying he might just play with his computer. Yeah, if I'm just sitting here this afternoon just goofing off, maybe. But if I'm doing something like this and I have a problem, I'm not going to take the time. Well, guys, pause the video for a second. Let me file a bug report. No, that's not. And then, you know, we have to be honest. A lot of devs are not very good with bug reports. As far as you give them this information, that's not enough information. I need more. Or the bug you're reporting is not really a bug. It's a feature.
Yeah,
right. So that's also one of the big reasons why I didn't tell this one, because I didn't want to then the backlash about that. But when I started 2 years ago, when I started using Linux, it was Ubuntu, I was having a lot of problems logically. So I did use a lot of the community run sites like Ask Ubuntu. And at that time, I started hating all such things like forums, community run sites, everything like that.
Did you ask a question on Ask Ubuntu without using the search function, Big Pod? Is that what you did?
No. I asked a question and I didn't provide all the logs in the system.
Oh, yes, that's a no-no.
I provide just those that pertain to the error that was happening. And that was the problem. And then another question was marked as a duplicate. And ironically, that one was talking about a DNS error. My system, I was trying to connect to a system in the same network, so no DNS at all. I was using an IP. And they would keep telling me it's a DNS error. And I keep telling them I use the IP address.
Yeah, the other thing, you know, I wasn't on the chat yesterday with you guys, and the first Big Daddy Linux Live, the European one.
Edition.
Yeah, but you know, Wimpy was mentioning that Ubuntu already has this automatic bug reporting system. What is it, Whoopsie or whatever that they use? That, you get the little pop-up that says something has crashed. Would you like to send a report? Well, on Ubuntu systems, I notice half the time that window comes up and tells me something crashed. Would you like to send a report? I don't even know what the problem was. I have no idea what the crash was. I wasn't doing anything. Sometimes that window pops up. I don't know anything about it. Why would I bother filing a bug report? Because I don't even know what really happened.
Says, there was a system crash. Would you like to report it?
Every time I install Ubuntu, doesn't matter what system I put it on, every single time I install Ubuntu, the first thing that appears when I log in is the crash reporter.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time.
I remember one time was actually, when I was starting using Linux, I was having problems with Steam, and it was after I got the thing to tell me what it was problem. It just said Steam.
Yeah,
nothing more, just Steam. And
I think I've had that same error message.
Because actually I installed Steam. It bugged out. I removed it, and then I got the error about Steam. Yeah. And then I just reloaded.
I had one error message. A window comes up and it says error, and it says code 0, and that's it. And it's like, well, what does that even mean? Like, I don't even.
Yeah, that's not very helpful.
Yeah, that was.
At least on Windows, they at least don't try to hide it. They don't want to tell you the issue.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Windows error reporting is pretty mystical in itself.
Yeah, they don't hide the thing that they don't want to tell you what's the issue. They don't hide it.
No, just plain old tell you. Send it back to the secret URL. We'll deal with it.
They plain old tell you. They show you.
I wonder why you have to send any at all. They're not monitoring anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
It's automatic sending. They just tell you.
At least it's not like the old Mac OS where it was error type 11. You look it up, it says there's an error with your system. And then you get an error type 2, and it says, oh, there's an error with your system. As a technician, that's very hard to troubleshoot.
At least on Windows, when you get a blue screen, it nicely tells you an error code, and actually that error code corresponds to something. It's actually 90% of the time it's actually correct error code.
Yeah, that's true.
I like error detecting keyboard. Press F11 to continue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will give Windows credit about the blue screen of death. That's better than just a plain black screen with no information, which we get in Linux every now and then.
Or sometimes only in the kernel crash when you get so much information and then you can scroll and see what's happening because it's so many.
Mm-hmm.
How can I help myself with that if the most crucial information is the top, and the top is up there somewhere where I can't access anymore?
Well, that's where grep is your friend.
Yeah, yes. But I can't use grep because right after boot, so it just displays the information and that's it. I can't do anything. Kernel, what is it called? Kernel crashes. I call them kernel crashes.
Well, so you're not in a shell at that point?
No, you're in a shell. Basically, when kernel starts booting during init process, if kernel crashes, it will just throw
on a panic.
Yeah, kernel panic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not much you can do about that.
Throws information, and most of the time it's more information than your screen can display.
Yeah, I don't even bother with kernel panics. The minute I see one, reinstall.
Basically, that's kind of equivalent of the blue screen of death on Windows. But BSD, at least it's a nice blue screen. You don't get afraid that much, and just that your system has crashed. A nice sad smiley face and an error code.
Well, everything is fixable, but you do have to weigh, is it worth your time? For example, just off the top of my head, what if I did a sudo recursively change all permissions on every file on my system to 777? Well, my machine would pretty much be hosed at that point. Could I fix it? Could I go through the millions of files on my machine and try to fix all the permission problems that I just created? Yeah, I could. It would take me probably 6 months to do that. where I could reinstall in 10 minutes. So you have to weigh the pros and cons, right?
Especially on stuff like Ubuntu, where it's like 15-minute install.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe on what's his name? OpenSUSE, some problems are worth fixing because installation takes so long.
Yeah.
I was installing it on my machine.
Why does the OpenSUSE installation take that long? I
don't know. I believe it's actually installing packages or something. Unlike,
is it doing a net install?
No, it's actually it has packages, and unlike, let's say, Ubuntu, where it just copies the image from the CD drive.
On SquashFS.
It does squashes and copies image to the drive. Here, basically, it has packages on the CD or ISO, and it just installs every package.
It has all the packages. It's like 4.7 gig.
Yeah,
it's
all the packages.
Gecko is blindingly fast at installing.
Yeah,
really quick.
Yeah.
Most ironic thing is in OpenSUSE install, in the lib install, you have a custom installation, and when you open it, you get a couple of more options of what you want. Not even like what I would call a bit more advanced install, not a custom install. Custom install will at least ask me to enter a package for what desktop environment I want to use.
Yeah.
Not even that. It gives you 4 desktop environments. That's one more than you have in previous screen.
Just quickly in the chat, Tellerus, he says, I've never had a kernel panic. Am I not trying hard enough?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. You don't see them that often on static release distros, but if you're on rolling release distro, you'll eventually run into a kernel panic. It's going to happen to you. So just stick with it. You'll get there.
In my experience, most kernel panics I saw was on Budgie, on Ubuntu Budgie. That was like 2 out of 3 kernel panics I saw on Ubuntu Budgie.
Well, I've got Ubuntu Budgie on one of my laptops right now. The last version, 18.10. It's been running fine since I installed it back in October. So,
yeah, maybe I had just some unluck.
It could be a hardware related issue. I don't know. What were you running it on?
On my laptop.
No.
Yeah,
we usually end up getting kernel panics on Apple OS, on OS 10.
They're not pleasant.
And doesn't all the Ubuntu flavors use the same kernel? I mean, it's all custom Ubuntu kernels, yeah.
Yep, they are.
Which, oddly enough, you know who does the kernel the best? It's completely bloated as hell, but Arch does the best kernel because everything is in that kernel, right? They do the big kernel, right? So
they do the biggest kernel possible.
Which a lot of people would probably find that strange because people think of Arch as a minimal kind of distro, but their KISS philosophy, the keep it simple, stupid philosophy, kind of suits. Yeah, just give them the big kernel. It has everything. Then you don't have to worry about,
Just throw everything.
Right.
It's simple and stupid. Everything works.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's why I have right now on a touchscreen. I'm revving up. I have Arch on, so it's actually one of the only distros that touchscreen actually works okay on.
Yeah. Serge in the chat mentioned Slackware does the big kernel too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slackware is very well known for stability. So
cool.
Yeah.
Although I'm having fun with this Makula challenge.
You know what? I have not.
Quite challenging.
I have not downloaded that yet. I'm not sure if I can actually join you guys next Saturday, but if I can, Makulu looks interesting. You guys are going to do the Makulu core.
Core, yeah.
Yeah.
I've already conceded. That stuff's going nowhere near my hardware.
Yeah, well,
probably here as
I've got extra drives. I mean, it's not like I'm going to overwrite, anything important.
There's always the VM route.
I'm not even
VM, then you don't have to worry about
waste the bandwidth downloading
it.
I got some old hardware that I've been running the challenges on for the real hardware, and The trouble is this thing has a problem with the BIOS. I think it's something to do with the APC, but it's I just haven't gone into it to dig it out yet. And so I don't know if it's the problem with the BIOS or is it a problem with Makula. I had to do the install about 4 times last night before finally it took. That was about 3:30 when I got out of here.
Yeah, I haven't downloaded the ISO, but just looking at the Makulu website, this Makulu core distro, looks like they've got a couple of different docks going that look like the launcher they're using is that GNOME Pi with the circular launcher.
I could throw it on my touchscreen.
Yeah, it's kind of made for that sort of thing.
I mean, it's interesting. I'm just going to say they made some interesting choices there. Why would you use that launcher? You couldn't put a real menu system or even a better launcher like
touchscreen,
Synapse or U-Launcher or something.
Some say it's meant for touchscreen. The like built for touchscreen, and that kind of works on touchscreens. Yeah,
but does anybody
that's not actually the focus, that it's just supported?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, if I had a tablet, a nice, Samsung tablet or something, would I want a proper GNU/Linux distribution with all my desktop apps on the tablet? Probably not. I'd probably just want Android on it, or some kind of.
And the thing is, as a desktop, the way I move around the desktop, I would accidentally be creating gestures, and it would be doing things on my behalf that I wouldn't want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For such thing like this touchscreen I have, maybe possibly such thing is good. Actually, this touchscreen is meant more or less for the showcases, something like shows and stuff.
Yeah.
So you can let's say you have let's say a house. You can walk around the house. You see each room.
Virtual walkthroughs and things like that.
Yeah. Actually, that's what I'm setting it up for.
Yeah,
actually working on that.
Yeah, I just the launcher that they chose, GNOME Pi. That's just strange. I don't know.
It's strange.
But I'll download it and try it out. Who knows? It may be fantastic. Anybody know what dock they're using? It doesn't mention it, I don't think, on the website here. It's an XFCE based panel that houses system notifications. So that's the dock on the right hand side. So they're using, I guess, a XFCE panel, I guess, to mimic a dock on one side. I don't know, the bottom dock.
Or maybe Cairo, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's different.
It's kind of gaudy, right? It's kind of got too much going on. We got Conky on the desktop with this annoying.
How I see it.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Exactly. That's what I said.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like trying to be too much at the same time.
Use a screen here.
Yeah.
I can't get past the greeter.
That's
It has my user and my password. Oh, there, something just happened. Let's see what happened.
It is not KDE, where your screen locks and you can't get into your system anymore.
Well, I'll check out Core with you
Password
guys.
doesn't work anymore until you reboot.
KDE.
Interesting to try it.
Yeah. I did try the Windows version a few months ago. That was interesting. Trying to basically mimic Windows with a Linux distribution. And I guess if that was their goal, it kind of succeeded in that. Better than most that try it.
Actually, UI look is actually really easy. I believe some old version of KDE had a theme that basically looked like Windows XP.
Yeah, sure did.
You find that with a lot of distros, they come out and they put so much attention on the theming and the aesthetics of it, and then under the hood is just a pile of garbage. And it's like, well, the theming should be the last thing you look at. Get the engine working, and then theme it.
And other thing that I've seen a lot of this that try is the software choice. While yes, I would actually wipe almost everything out and install GNOME toolchain because that's what I prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it's like GNOME tools like GNOME Terminal and Nautilus and stuff. But otherwise, you see some random mishmash of tools that actually don't work together well, and then you have something like Pale Moon as a browser, and you just think about hitting your head into the wall.
Well, a lot of small distros are really like one-man projects. They're installing the stuff on the distro that they use themselves. They're not really interested in what the masses want. They like Pale Moon. They install Pale Moon on their distro, even though everybody else that will install it's going to wipe that off and install Firefox or Chrome.
I mean, you take a company like Canonical. I'm sure they do ask those questions.
They do probably do market research.
Who does this benefit? How is the user going to interact with this? What is the result of them interacting with this? Things like that. But the smaller teams, they don't seem to focus on usability so much as let's cram as much of our ideas into this as we can.
I'll tell you where most of them fail. A lot of them do spend time making their desktop look good. They always spend time on theming and stuff. Where they miss the point really is starting at the very beginning. Does your installer work? Case in point, yesterday taking a look at Red Core Linux once again. That installer. Did you guys notice the slideshow that watched that video? The slideshow, the images were reversed. They were backwards. They were mirrored. So if you watch the slideshow, you can't even read anything in the slideshow. It's like, how did that slip through? How did you release that ISO and not know that the slideshow for your installer all the images were messed up?
When I install stuff, I see it all the time. They use some either their own installer or some random installer that almost nothing uses. Why can't you use Calamaris installer? Or if you don't want to use a mainstream one, use Anaconda. It's at least kind of usable, unlike some garbage many small distros use.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Calamari is distro agnostic. It doesn't care what the system is.
Right.
Yeah. That's why it's really good. And
it's so easy to configure.
Yeah.
You didn't mention the Cinchi installer that Antergos uses. I mean, that's
fine if you obey its rules. If you wait for it to update first, rarely is there a problem. Most people are too click happy to wait for it to update because it tells you when you first run it, any distro that uses Cinchi, in the top right corner of your screen, it says Cinchi's updating. It will restart the installer in a minute. And most people go click, click. Too late. Game over.
I would say on the software choice side, I think the most impressive one that I see is the Arco Linux. They just include 3 browsers. Whatever you want to use.
But again, it's basically a one-man project. He's got some people helping him, but it's Eric Dubois' distro.
5 people, I believe.
But he builds those things.
They're actually doing a council type stuff. Not how many, but
those are actually
he does himself.
He uses 3 browsers. That's why he includes it. Eric Dubois actually uses all 3 browsers. That's why they're on there.
Right.
It's kind of like if you were a web developer, right? You might have multiple web browsers to check things out on. So if you built your own,
for 3 browsers,
right?
Some don't know, but every good website is written for every browser. Basically, you have a CSS code and JavaScript code for Edge, JavaScript and CSS code for Chrome, for Firefox, and so on. Rather than I mentioned Edge, I know a good Windows joke, like a good Edge Windows joke.
Go on then, share.
Wow.
You know what Edge is good for?
No, tell us.
Installing Firefox.
Okay.
True.
I just like the Bill Gates joke. I don't know if heard that one.
No.
I'm sure I've heard several of them over the years.
Bill Gates dies, goes up to heaven. St. Peter says, you've done some good, you've done some bad. I'll give you a choice. And he says, let me take a look. So he takes a look at heaven. Kind of boring, people singing praises to the Lord all day and stuff like that. He goes down to hell and sees beach and pretty women walking along the beach and nice sunset. Says, I think I'll go down to hell. About a month later, St. Peter goes down to hell on some business and sees Bill Gates chained up against the wall getting whipped. And he's like, he goes, St. Peter, what was that? He says, oh, that was just a screensaver.
And that's a flashback. Screensavers. Nobody uses those anymore either. Most Linux distros don't even enable a screensaver anymore.
Well, most people aren't running CRTs anymore.
Yeah.
But they probably should. Those were great monitors, the old CRT monitors. They were just bulky, big and bulky.
I wouldn't touch one.
Lock screens. I mean,
no.
I wouldn't touch a CRT with a cane.
They were just gigantic monitors. I mean, if back in the day when you had CRT monitors, most people only had like a 13-inch monitor or whatever. Yeah. But if you were one of those fortunate people there at the end to get like a big 17 or 19-inch CRT monitor, that thing was like 150 pounds, and you couldn't wrap your arms around it. It was so massive.
Wouldn't even fit on the desk because it was too deep.
Yeah, I had a 19-inch one, and I could barely lift the thing.
Yeah, you would have to reinforce the desk to hold it up.
My CRT was more bezel than screen.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Yeah. They're amazing.
Yeah, but everything just looked great on them as far as the picture quality.
Yeah, but
that's true.
Yeah.
That's why we have HD now. Basically, that's because of the pixel density and size, which is smaller. Logically, it looks better. If you have a small image, even 360p looks okay. Actually looks great. But when you have a bigger screen, no, it doesn't look great. It looks trash.
It just doesn't scale,
Yeah, scaling is a problem, and because it scales actually, because it scales is actually that's why it's trash. Because let's say on a 1080p screen that's actually like 17-inch. Logically, it will 360p will look bad because for each pixel that on 360p monitor it has to have 6 pixels or something like that.
Yeah, it's got to blow it up. So yeah, it looks all distorted.
And then because it isn't proper direct translation from 360p it's 360p then R. So basically, it's just a multiplication of 1080p wouldn't be just a multiplication. It looks additional trash. That's why on 4K monitors, 1080p looks actually okay because basically just 4 times more pixels.
No.
Unlike, let's say, even 720p, the normal HD isn't actually 4 times smaller or twice smaller than full HD. It's actually 1.7 or something like that. Basically, it automatically looks trash. That's my professor.
Okay.
He was talking 4 hours about resolution. I don't remember what those 4 hours. I just
have the 4K 128 frames per second. Otherwise it's not worth it, right?
No, it's worth, but I use 1080p 60 hertz because
that's the standard. Care. Well, that's just what everybody uses is 1080 60. So.
If you're not gaming, that additional hertz won't hurt you one bit.
Yeah. Of course, do you really need the 60 frames per second? On a lot of video, you really don't. I could get away with 1080 30 easy on everything I do, and you would never notice the difference.
On video, maybe it's actually better because it actually does some, it looks better than 30 FPS, but otherwise, no, it isn't actually worth, especially for what most users do, stuff like Word or LibreOffice. That doesn't need 60 FPS. That needs 10.
I mean, speaking of Linux YouTubers, Brian Lunduk, he records 1080 with 22 or 24 frames per second. He does some weird
24 cinematic one.
Does everything in black and white too. So.
Yeah, there you go. he's trying to be cinematic. Exactly. He's trying to, because it's the same frame rates you get, in those movie reels.
5, 6, something like that.
Yeah. But on YouTube, people complain if it's not 1080 60 on YouTube. People be like, why are you recording in a strange resolution?
Actually, it looks better than the smaller FPS ones. But let me tell you a secret. Why they started with such a small number and such a weird number? Because they wanted to put on the last frame of the second, they actually put they used to put, now they are not allowed for like already quite a lot of time, but at the start they, for the last frame, they, let's say, added a Coca-Cola commercial, like just a picture of, let's say, Coca-Cola commercial, and it was just enough fast that you didn't see it, but your brain detected it, and afterwards you wanted to go for Coca-Cola.
Yeah, so it's this weird subliminal message, right?
Basically it's fast enough that the visual cortex processing disregards it for you to see, but brain detects it and it remembers it.
Mm-hmm. So later that day, when you're thinking, I got to go buy a Coca-Cola, you have no idea why that's even in your head. Huh?
But now they actually aren't allowed to do that anymore because of logical, psychological issues.
In the chat, Steven Anderson says 1440 to 4K is normal now. You're saying a lot more people on YouTube do 4K, but I don't know if it's that. It's definitely not the norm. 1080 is really still kind of standard. For one thing, to do 4K, you really need 4K monitor, 4K camera. I mean, most people are not going to have.
Too. I mean, I doubt that your discrete graphics on the motherboard is going to be able to handle.
Yeah, you got to have a beefy machine. You got to have a lot of storage to when you're recording this 4K video. Like it's so much involved to it. It's really not worth it for very many people to go the 4K route.
Recording 4K is actually quite great for someone who wants maybe a bigger production quality, even if they upload 1080p file footage, because it allows them to edit the footage and stuff like that better and not to lose a lot of quality. That's why big channels and big production houses use 8K and beyond to.
Oh yeah, so people like Linus Tech Tips, for example. Yeah. He's got two $50,000 cameras for that channel. But two different ones.
He actually broke one because he put it apart just to see what it's inside, because he wanted to water cool it.
Yeah,
that guy is amazing.
But he's got a full production staff. I mean, he's got like professional cameramen, and
he has a petabyte server.
Yeah,
because he wanna keep original footage.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Just quickly, Chas in the chat, how are you liking DWM so far? Yeah, that's great. It's been very easy for me just to be at home in DWM. Fantastic tiling window manager. It operates kind of the way I expect a tiling window manager to do. So it's actually been a great experience. I've had no problems with DWM as far as the tiling window manager. The only thing people get mad at me is I criticize, I guess, the suckless philosophy sometimes, because I shouldn't have to patch the things that I have to patch sometimes. This stuff should just be in the code. I don't like having arbitrary limits set to, like DWM, the suckless guys have set this arbitrary limit. We're never going to have more than 2,000 lines of code, I think, to DWM. Why? Where did you come up with that number? And if you feel like your window manager needs a feature, but it's going to put you past 2,000 lines, you can't just say, well, we can't add it because it's bloat at that point. We're going to strictly strict to 2,000 lines of code. I don't like that. So
ironically, configurations, for example, like you have to just to config, you have to recompile. Config we can see, I believe it would take something like 10 lines of code.
And I'm
okay. Less than 10 seconds to recompile DWM.
Yeah, okay, that's true. But do you really have to recompile a program just to change the configuration, like especially in such a way as you have to recompile DWM?
Well, technically, that's a security feature as well. It can't be hijacked either. Once it's compiled, it's in the program.
Yeah, but is there really like a downside to having like a DWM RC file somewhere on the system where I can change the font in the panel?
Or file.
Right.
It can be XML. It doesn't need to be C file.
Well, let's say, for example, you had a hard lock and you had to restart your system, and it just happened to be writing back to that file. You're not logging back into DWM.
No need to actually write to that file. It's a conf file which you simply just read, and that's it.
Oh no! Or if anything happened to that file, if it became corrupted, you're not logging in. You're not going back into that window manager because it can't read the config.
Don't have to. It have a basically if there is no config file, it goes with default. That's
well, he makes a point. Silent Robot makes a point. For example, I also use Xmonad. Xmonad does use a config file, and if I make a mistake, a spelling mistake, or even a spacing mistake in Haskell, guess what?
Yeah,
I can't log into Xmonad, right? We can't read the config file.
There's actually a difference between config file and that file. That file is actually a code file, not a config file, but okay.
Well, that's the thing I like
you use it.
i3.
You use it to
i3
configure.
Will actually warn you if you've got an error in your config file.
Yeah, but i3 uses a normal config file, which is basically just a text file, where Haskell, Xmonad, and DWM use a code file to configure.
That's right. It uses a .h,
which is actually security-wise, even if you have to recompile, such a huge issue. It's crazy. First of all, that's like an idiocy move to do.
Here's the way a lot of window managers handle this. They'll have a config file, but if you make a mistake in the code, right, what they'll do is they have a default config file somewhere on the system. They just revert back to that.
Yeah.
Until you fix yours. So,
for example, OpenBox, if you have a default config, it doesn't even generate a config file in the .config folder. It uses the default config with somebody etc or scale or wherever.
Yeah, most window managers are not going to create that .config directory for you. You're usually going to have to copy that from wherever it is in the root system.
I'm back.
Yeah,
you have to implicitly copy it from across.
Many software is, let's say, much more robustly made.
Yeah. Hey, Derek, I'm back.
Hey, Ben.
But yeah, my Raspberry Pi is saved.
You got it?
Yeah, one of my friends got on TeamViewer with me real quick, and we formatted my SD card to the Raspberry Pi with Kodi. It's saved.
All right.
Well,
we fixed it, so it's fine now.
I was going to ask you that earlier, Ben. What was the last thing you did on the Pi? And I was wondering if you installed anything.
No, it was just blank, so we just fixed it. So
okay. And just quickly back to the suckless topic. Yeah, DWM's been great. Love it. Love all the suckless utilities. Not a fan of the philosophy. I know people get mad at me when I say that, and people really got mad at me for criticizing their website. I don't know how you can get mad at me for criticizing their website. Any normal human being goes to suckless.org, they're going to think that website is trash. It just is. And there's no excuse. I don't care if you hate bloat or not. Somebody can build a proper website and it, quote, not be bloated. So
is there less than 2,000 lines of code in the website?
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
This website use CSS?
It does. Yeah. It has a little going on.
It got me wanting to try EWM now.
Yeah. And then, some of the devs got mad at me because I criticized them for not having a change log for the releases of DWM and dmenu. They're like, go read the git log. Go read all the commits over on, I was like, no, you guys, it would take you 30 seconds to just type a small little change log. Here's the new release. Here's what we've changed. Why do I need to go and dig through the git log?
Figure out that 10 bytes of extra text would take us over the 2,000 line limit. Sorry, can't do that.
Yeah, it would.
You could probably have it auto-generated from the GitHub.
Exactly. That's my point. One of the guys said, well, you could read the diff files. What do you need to be spoon-fed?
No.
Okay,
just put it all. Just have it go there too.
That's actually like the old philosophy of documenting code. It's like, well, code is hard to write, so it should be hard to read. Don't document.
And no comments, and probably no spacing between different lines. So different. So basically, it's one big garbage.
And probably when I'm done with DWM, I probably won't run DWM too much longer, maybe another week or so. But and then I'll switch to something else. But I'll probably make a video about overall what I think about Suckless as an organization and everything they do. But one of the things I can tell you right now, I don't like the elitist attitude that certain Linux communities have, like the Arch community. Yeah. Even though I love Arch as a distro, it's my favorite distro, I don't like the elitist attitude that Suckless has either, because they purposely make this thing in such a way that no normal human being can use their software. And they don't need to do this. And they're kind of arrogant about it, too. So...
Yeah, I hate elitist Linux users.
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons why I don't do bug reports. I like this. I mean, I have problems with people. That's the main thing. I have problems with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Somebody in the chat
say that. Because it would open up a whole new discussion.
Yeah, I mean, Linux is great and all, but I don't say it's like next to God or something.
Yeah.
In the chat, Mitchell mentions Luke Smith. The Luke Smith cult would disagree probably with my Suckless opinion. I don't know if Luke Smith even disagrees with me, because he doesn't run DWM. He uses i3. i3 is nothing like DWM. Yeah, and so... if he really believed in the Suckless philosophy, he would be on DWM, he would be on Void, Linux, or Gentoo. So it's not one extreme or the other. I mean, you can be in the middle. There's a middle ground here. I mean, I can use DWM and ST and dmenu and not be one of these hardcore Suckless guys where I have to remove as much line of code from all my programs as possible.
Yeah. Lajos Pastor, however you say his name, says Arch people don't like users, they like coders. that I can agree with. Yeah.
And the Suckless guys are a lot like that.
And then again, they hate you out.
The Suckless guys, I think what they're trying to do really with these diff files and the patching and stuff, they're trying to educate people. They're trying, I guess, to create more C programmers, maybe. Which, if that's their goal, that's fine. And they just need to be a little better at conveying that message.
For most of the stuff right now, there are a lot better languages than C. Hell, even C++ is better.
Well, you're going to start an argument with that. So.
Yeah, again, whoever prefers. I prefer C#, and I write C# program that makes Python code because I'm a freaking noob in Python.
It's got to be C, Big Pod. That was the original Unix programming language. C, everything's C. It's C forever.
C++ is way better.
Although I do really like using C# for things like writing sketches for Adrenos and stuff like that. I like the fact that, I want to change time, I type in change time, or something like that.
Yeah,
libraries.
C# is really versatile. Now that they have added the official support for Linux, basically on every platform they're on, and even you can make games with it. You can make mobile applications, basically websites, web servers, basically everything.
But the thing is, to get it widely accepted, you're going to have .NET compatibility in there.
Yeah.
Because .NET is a framework that everybody is using.
.NET, on one side .NET Core, which is on Linux one, and .NET Framework is widely used on Windows. Actually, C# is a big part of Windows. But otherwise, for me,
I like it for
my Python operator.
Full applet and stuff like that, but nothing for like this cash register program I'm writing for the museum. I'm writing it in Lazarus or Pascal if you want to get technical about it. So.
And Peter in the chat writes, the problem with C# is it's from Microsoft. Yeah, but we're past that. Microsoft's doing some good stuff.
C# is open source.
Yeah, and now it is. And Microsoft opened
Compiler
up
is open
.NET.
source.
Right, and they've opened up most of their stuff.
Is open source. .NET Core is open source. C# is open source. Roslyn compiler, it's the compiler that C# uses, which is made with C#, is open source.
Yeah, it's time to embrace Microsoft into the open source community. They've open sourced a lot of stuff. So
what they do with Windows is
Windows is not open source.
Don't expect Windows to be open source. They are still a corporation, and they answer to stockholders. That's the problem, because they have to have avenues of getting money. So they, at the end of the quarter, they have that green plus on the paper. It's nothing more. That's what Windows is. Same with many other stuff they sell, because that's just to appease the stockholders. And that's why Windows will never go open source or free, because it is for stockholders. It would lose stock, and stockholders would have a problem with which Microsoft would have a problem. Basically, it would be a cascade that could crash the whole company. Visual
Studio Code is also open source. Nice text editor for but it's
one of the best Electron applications around.
Visual Studio 2012, I think, is when they started doing the open source.
And the community version of Visual Studio is free. So it's actually, and for actually says specifically for open source projects, it's totally free.
It's not something I use, but they do have a Vim mode in VS Studio, right? That has all the Vim key bindings and everything in it. Yeah. So those of us that are familiar with Vim, we could transition right into it. So.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Going back to the suckless stuff, have you been using Surf still, or?
I've played around with Surf a little bit. Actually, when I joined the Zoom chat here, I mentioned that I'm in Firefox today because I don't know if Surf could even do Zoom because of how stripped down that particular browser is. It may not even bring up this window. It does fine as far as YouTube videos and the YouTube chat. I know that because I've tried that out. But I didn't have time to test Zoom, and I sat down about 10 minutes before doing the stream. I didn't want to risk it to see if Surf would work with Zoom. But as far as the browser itself, it's so stripped down. It has such a lack of features out of the box. There's no bookmark feature. So most people, when they think of a web browser, the first thing they think about is their bookmarks, right? That's kind of the defining feature, right? You've got your bookmarks. You just click on them. You go to you don't have any of that in Surf. No bookmarks. Forget you ever had bookmarks. No tabs. No tabs.
There are things.
Yeah. Now there is an extension, a patch to get tabs, but out of the box. They don't. If you want a new window, you just open up a new window, right? You just open up a second.
That's so 1980.
Yeah.
Have you tried Qt browser?
I have. I've got it installed on the system. I haven't played with it that much though. But
that's a little better as far as it's still kind of pared down, I think, but it has bookmarks and tabs
it's sensible. You can tab in it. Yeah, I know Qt has.
And it uses Vim keys, I believe. Qt does.
Yeah, it does.
But the suckless guys say they purposely kept tabs out of the code of Surf. Yeah, again, there's a patch for it, but they say tabs are bloat and that you get more work done. I guess your attention span is better if you don't have so many tabs open like most people do in Firefox and Chrome.
Yeah, it's nice to only do one thing.
Yeah. But I rarely am only...
Most of the time, I only check one site for the information, and I might correlate the information from one site to the another.
So they use it for reading the diff changes in DWM and other software stores.
So well, it's nice to have them all in one window.
I've got to admit, I mean, that's an interesting thing there. I mean, if you got rid of tabs from your workflow, would it improve your workflow? I don't know.
Probably not. For me, probably not.
Yeah.
It would keep you focused. You're right.
I can
on that one thing, but when
I can tell you right now,
nope.
I can tell you from experience, though, it's very jarring as far as if you had no tabs. Because the first thing I did when I opened up Surf for the very first time, I reading the man page. How do I get a tab open? And it's not there. Like that's the first thing you look for, and then when that's not there, it's like, wow, what's going on?
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's a big change. It's much tougher to change the web browser, really, than the window manager.
Right. Yeah, that's the big thing.
Yeah, because you spend so much time in your web browser. When you start removing things like tabs and bookmarks and things you've used for 30 years, in every web browser, it's a big change. But I don't think Surf is meant to be a real web browser. It's not like a direct competitor to something like Firefox. Firefox is a web browser. Surf is just this window that happens to display one web page. That's all that is, right?
I can make with C# in 5 minutes better web browser. But your web browser in 5 minutes with C#.
But you're not limited to 1,000 lines of code or whatever they're trying to limit Surf to. I'd have to check what they're...
Yeah, but basically the whole code would be bigger, but the specific code for the browser would be like maybe 100 lines.
Yeah.
But while all the code for the objects and stuff like that would be bigger, but that's because it's object-oriented programming language.
Right.
So it's logically got to be a lot bigger.
The best suckless utility that I've played with, though, is dmenu. Yeah. Dmenu is really nice. I've used dmenu before this. I've used dmenu for years, off and on. I like Rofi. That's kind of what I'd switched to. Now I'm back on dmenu.
And then you install Rofi and wonder why you bothered with dmenu.
Yeah. They're very similar as far as what they do. Dmenu is really just this simple little utility. Most people use it as a program launcher, a command launcher, but really it's just this menu that displays text for you, right? And you could have it display.
It is actually quite useful because you can take the standard out from dmenu and pass it to Rofi. Yes. So you can make custom menus, which is really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you can write your own Bash scripts or Python scripts and have, you can do some interesting stuff with dmenu and Rofi. Rofi has the same kind of functionality too, but
I'm actually thinking of writing my own Rofi menu.
Yeah.
So I don't have like million packages in the menu.
Serge is asking what happened to Antics and Herbstluft WM. I had Antics and Herbstluft on one of my laptops for about a month. I just recently got rid of it, but I do have Herbstluft now on Manjaro. I went ahead and installed Herbstluft. I've already started taking a look at it. It might be the next window manager I try to live in. We'll see. It's an interesting window manager. It's not like anything else I've ever tried. Herbstluft is a little different kind of color. Where DWM was a little too comfortable, to be honest. DWM, I used Awesome Window Manager before and loved Awesome, lived in it. Awesome is a fork of DWM, which is probably why DWM, wasn't all that strange to me. It wasn't, this weird alien kind of environment. i3 was kind of weird to me.
But you adapted well with that i3, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you live in something for a little while, you get used to it. Yeah. It's really just on multi-monitor systems, it's how they handle multi-monitors that throws people off. That's always the big thing with a new window manager, because they handle multi-monitors differently. They handle workspaces differently. For example, DWM got 9 workspaces, on monitor 1, a different set of 9 workspaces on monitor 2, a different set of 9 workspaces on monitor 3. If I wanted to move this program that's on workspace 1 on monitor 3 over to workspace 3 on monitor 2, assuming I have a patch for it, now I have a keyboard command that will put that on the other monitor, but by default it doesn't. Where in something like Xmonad or Qtile, you just have a set of 9 workspaces shared by all 3 monitors. And just a simple mod key plus workspace number sends that window to it. I like that. That's very simple. It makes sense. The way DWM does it doesn't make a lot of sense the first time you sit down to it. After a while, you get used to it, though. And you get so used to it that if I log back into Qtile, for example, it would take me a few days to get used to doing it the old way. So, yeah. Yeah, DT, I also use Antics testing, and there are way more updates on Antics than on Arch. Yeah, well, you're using the testing repo. Which I don't think Antics is based off Debian stable by default. You purposely went and pointed that thing to the testing mirrors, so don't be surprised if things break. I tried Antics with the SID repos once, and that didn't go well for me. Dolphin wasn't very happy about my live stream that I did with Antics with the SID repos. That was an interesting live stream.
Oops.
Yeah. It's like, why did you do that? He's in the chat yelling, "Don't do it! Stay away from Sid." I just ignore it, I just
for the science.
Sid breaks your toys.
Yeah, but this is what we do, right? Well,
yep.
We don't install these things to just not break them. I mean, we want to break them, put them back together. It's a learning experience.
Yeah. Everybody wants to know what happens.
Yeah. You guys seen the news that Fedora is doing a new logo design?
Yes,
they want some new.
I missed that one. And me being such a Fedora fanatic, I think I would keep up on that.
Yeah, they're just doing some new branding. Similar to Firefox was doing some new branding a few months ago. Fedora is doing the same thing. It's not going to be a drastic new logo or anything like that. It's just some minor tweaks, I guess, to make it a little more modern, which I will say the old Fedora logo does look a little dated.
Yeah, but look at IBM. I mean, they haven't changed their logo very much in the past 40, 50 years.
Yeah. I just...
rather iconic, yeah.
I pasted a link in the chat to anybody that wants to check out some of what they're doing with the logo. There's a couple of different candidates for replacing the Fedora logo.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's cool.
It actually does. I like it. Either one of those, I think, is an improvement. I like the way they've got the infinity symbol. Actually, makes a little more sense than it did in the old logo. It's kind of hard to tell that infinity symbol was there, with the F being a different font color. I know that's a minor thing, we're talking about aesthetics really, right? But it makes a difference. All right, guys. Well, we got about 10 minutes before I kill the chat. I think today I'm going to try to get to the gym, get a workout in. Feel like I need it.
Yeah, I should do the same.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to get to the gym. I usually get to the gym 2, sometimes 3 times a week. I've been doing that for about 4 years now, actually. I started about 4 years ago because about 4 years ago I was quite a bit heavier and just out of shape. I was having some issues with my back. Back always gave me trouble. I was actually worried that I couldn't actually work out. Some serious back issues I had. But after working out for a few weeks, I was amazed at how much better I felt. Like, the back issues that I had went away. No more pain, no more, some days having trouble walking. Just doing something physical a few times a week just made all the difference. To where I think I'll stick with it the rest of my life at this point. Now that, like I said, I've been doing it about 4 years, about 3 times a week, every week for 4 years. It's become part of a lifestyle. I know a lot of people have a problem, they want to change things in their life and they do something for a couple of weeks or a month and then just quit it. You just got to stick with it. That's really the secret. You don't like doing it, you just do it. It's kind of like you don't like going to work, but you go there, right? Same thing. If you know you need to eat right or get to the gym or quit smoking or whatever it is you need to do in life, just do it. You do so many other things in life you don't want to do, but you have to do them. You just have to treat this kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations with the exercising. I do it too. And that's Peter Jansen. Yeah. So, yeah, and the good thing is I feel a lot better. Like I said, a lot of the pain I had as far as back pain went away. Really did change quality of life. So, and of course, lose weight along the way. I was about 20, 30 pounds heavier. So it's working out a little bit. DT, show those guns. I put on a little muscle, but we're not going to show any guns today. I do some weights, though. Some pretty heavy weights. So, yeah. So, I walked once, didn't like it. You walked once?
Just once?
Oh, well, that's interesting. That's Fat Elvis. Yeah. You didn't like walking? Try running. You won't like that either.
No, that's worried.
I went for a run today after a long time.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of Joe Pesci in Trying Dangerously. My mom put me on a hook once. Once.
All right. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get a final word from everybody. So I can go grab me some lunch. And today I'm going to do leg day. So it's always a struggle. The worst day of the week is leg day. So, Ansem, you got a last word for us, sir? Ansem, you there? It's either a pulse audio issue or he is away from keyboard. So let's get a last word from Silent Robot.
Thanks for having me on, Derek. Always a pleasure. Interesting conversations today.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah, well, we didn't get that interesting. We didn't get into AI and all that. That one discussion we had a couple of weeks back was just crazy about artificial intelligence. I actually thought about bringing that up, but I let it go this week. We'll save that for another week. Dan, you got a last word for us, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Derek. It's been fun. I think the conversation has been good. It's always interesting, and yeah, thanks for putting these on.
Yeah, these are always fun. Highlight of my day.
Yep.
Big Pod.
Thank you for having us again this week, and hope people had fun.
I bet they did. So are you going back to Qtile this week, or are you sticking with OpenBox?
Probably gonna switch sometime OpenBox, sometime Qtile.
Yeah.
Basically on what I do. If it's something I really need to do in OpenBox, I will definitely go OpenBox. I won't try to force myself.
Yeah. And you got to use what works. All right.
Yeah.
Chris, you got a last word for us, sir?
I just wanted to know, is Silent Robot the guy who does Urban Penguin?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. You sound a lot like him.
Oh, you're talking? Yeah, the voice. You're right. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. What is that?
It's a YouTube channel, The Urban Penguin.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, pretty big YouTube channel. Been around for a little while. Does good videos.
Oh, in that case, yes.
Right. You both got a real good broadcast voice. So.
Thank you.
But next time I'll try to be at the museum close to 11 o'clock, so you guys don't have to watch my commute.
No, that's great though, especially
I'll switch the camera around so you can watch where the car's going rather than my ugly face.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, because
I enjoyed the drive.
Yeah, it's. I found it very therapeutic actually watching the car go. All right, thanks, Chris.
See you.
All right,
see you next week maybe.
Ben, Hackman, let's get a last word.
All right. Well, look forward to hopefully having my LFS done next week, so I can join with that, and then I'll hopefully have that ready for next week. And thanks again, Derek, for letting me on, and I'll see you for the next one.
All right, yeah, and I'll definitely check out your new ISO too, Ben. By the way, post a link in the chat for those of that arrived late.
Let me grab it real quick.
Yeah. So Ben has his own community respin of
Manjaro. XFC, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
All right.
I'll post mine, okay, if that's okay, Derek, as well.
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
Everybody put your distros in the chat room.
Yeah. One day I will start my own distro.
Yeah.
Are you a moderator
not an easy
of
task
the chat?
Maintaining a remix like that.
Yeah, it's quite a task.
Yes, it is.
I don't know if it's let my link go through there, Derek.
Well, post something in the chat so I can see your name and I'll make you a moderator.
I just did.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can just post it for you then. But why don't you post?
There you go.
Post in the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
Okay. I did put one there, but it seems like it's stayed. I don't know. It's not told me I can't do it.
I'm going to see if I can't make it stay. And we'll get everybody's. If not, I know I can paste it.
And if anyone does try it, any feedback is welcomed, whether you hate it, whether you love it.
Well, what I've seen of it, Silent, it looks good.
Mm. And yeah, some links can't be posted. Yeah, Peter, yeah. One thing, you have to be a moderator in the YouTube chat to post a link there. So if Silent Robot, would you post something in the YouTube chat? Just anything, just...
Hello, world.
Yeah, hello, world, so I can make you a moderator, and then you can post your link.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hello, world. Okay, well, he actually did that. All right. So I just added you as a moderator in the YouTube chat. Now you can post a link.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
All right, and while he's posting his link, let me get my last word in. Of course, I got to thank all the patrons here. Of course, this was a patrons-only chat. This show, of course, brought to you by Ansem, Carlos, Chris, Dylan, Leo, Rob, Robert, Tony, and all these other people, all those names on the screen. Ben and Big Pod and Dan and Robot.
The whole gang.
Yeah. And other than those guys, of course, I want to thank the YouTube chat for hanging out. You guys were great. Always interesting discussions in the chat. And I will see you guys maybe next Sunday. I haven't checked my work schedule. We'll see what's going on next Sunday as far as a time. But, of course, I'll try to let you guys know a couple of days in advance. All right, guys. Peace.
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 All right. Bye.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.